Hey everyone, welcome to this deep dive we put together, especially for all you senior managers out there.
Oh, yeah, this is a good one.
We're tackling compassionate leadership.
That's right.
And, we're going to really get into it. We got some excerpts from a document that goes deep on the topic. And I think what you'll find is that this style of leadership can have a real impact on your team,
Absolutely.
how they're performing their mental well-being, and even how they bounce back from setbacks.
You know what's interesting? Because compassionate leadership, it sounds pretty straightforward, right?
Yeah, you would think so.
Be nice to people.
Yeah.
But it's actually a lot more nuanced than that. It's a strategic approach.
Okay, so we're not just talking about handing out cookies here.
No, not at all.
This is a deliberate way of leading with tangible benefits.
Right, and especially in those high-stakes environments where senior management decisions, they have a ripple effect
Oh yeah, for sure.
across the whole organization.
So let's break this down then. What exactly are we talking about when we say compassionate leadership?
Well, at its core, it's about leading with empathy,
Okay.
with care, and a deep understanding of your team.
So it's about creating a space where people feel supported,
Yes,
and not just in their work, but as human beings.
exactly. Because as a senior manager, you're dealing with a lot more than just tasks and projects.
Right. You're responsible for people.
You are responsible for people.
And people are complicated.
They are.
We've all got our good days and our bad days.
Exactly. And that's where emotional intelligence comes in.
Okay, I was going to say, isn't that a big part of this?
It's huge. A compassionate leader is able to read those emotional cues, understand where somebody's coming from, and respond in a way that supports them.
It's like being tuned in to the emotional landscape of your team.
That's a great way to put it.
So how does a busy senior manager with a million things on their plate actually do this?
Well, one of the most important things,
Yeah.
and this is sometimes overlooked, is active listening.
Oh, that's so important.
Really understanding your team's perspectives, their challenges, what they need to thrive.
So you're saying it's more than just hearing words,
Way more. It's about stepping into their shoes.
trying to see things from their point of view.
Exactly. Asking clarifying questions, paying attention to nonverbal cues, really trying to grasp the underlying emotions and needs that are being communicated.
And I bet that's especially important for senior managers who often have to make tough decisions.
Oh, absolutely. Decisions that affect a lot of people.
Yeah.
And beyond listening, it's about offering tangible support
Okay.
during tough times.
Yeah, we all have those.
We all do. And a compassionate leader acknowledges that these challenges can impact work.
Right.
So they might offer resources, flexibility, just a listening ear,
Yeah.
whatever is appropriate for the situation.
They're bringing a little humanity into the workplace.
Exactly. Recognizing that people have lives outside of work, and sometimes those lives intersect with their professional lives.
Yeah, you can't just pretend that stuff doesn't exist.
No, you can't. It's about creating a culture where people feel comfortable being open about what they're going through.
Makes sense. But I've got to ask,
Yeah.
isn't there a risk that if you're too focused on your team's feelings, you'll be seen as soft?
That's a common concern.
Yeah, especially as a senior manager where you've got to make those tough calls.
Right, like you're losing authority or something.
Yeah, exactly.
But the research actually suggests the opposite.
Oh, really?
Yeah, when you lead with compassion, you build trust and loyalty within your team.
Okay.
They know you have their back, and that translates into greater engagement, productivity, even innovation.
Because if someone's constantly stressed or worried about their job security, they're not going to be doing their best work.
Exactly. It's a smarter approach in the long run.
So it's not just about being nice.
Yeah.
It's actually better for the bottom line.
It is. And let's not forget the impact on mental health.
Oh, that's huge.
Senior managers, they're in a unique position to influence the well-being of their teams.
Yeah, they set the tone.
By creating what's called a psychologically safe environment.
Okay, I've heard that term.
You can reduce stress, prevent burnout, and foster a much healthier and happier workforce.
So what does psychologically safe actually mean?
It means creating a space where people feel comfortable speaking up, sharing their ideas,
Okay.
even admitting mistakes without fear of judgment or reprisal.
So it's about encouraging healthy debate and, disagreement without punishing people for having different viewpoints.
Exactly. And for senior managers, this means modeling that behavior.
Oh, so you have to walk the walk.
You do. Being open to feedback, admitting when you're wrong, and creating a culture where people feel comfortable challenging the status quo.
Because you're setting the tone for the whole organization.
You are. Your leadership style trickles down to every level.
Okay. I'm starting to see how powerful this can be.
It's powerful.
But let's be realistic.
Okay.
A lot of senior managers, they're under immense pressure to deliver results. to meet deadlines, to hit those targets. How do you balance that with being compassionate?
It's definitely a balancing act,
Yeah.
but it's not an either-or situation.
Okay, good.
Compassionate leadership doesn't mean sacrificing performance.
So you're saying it can actually enhance performance?
It can,
Yeah.
because when people feel supported and valued, they're more likely to go the extra mile.
They're more invested in the company's success.
Exactly.
This is all making a lot of sense.
Good.
But I'm curious to see how this plays out in the real world.
Okay.
How does a compassionate leader actually behave in those high-pressure moments?
Well, imagine this.
Okay.
A team is struggling to meet a critical deadline.
Oh, yeah.
A less compassionate leader might just crack the whip, you know?
Just turn up the pressure.
Yeah, increase the pressure, threaten repercussions.
Okay.
But a compassionate leader takes a different approach.
All right. I'm interested. What do they do?
They might start by acknowledging the pressure the team's under,
Okay.
expressing empathy for the challenges they're facing.
So validating how they feel.
Right. And then instead of dictating solutions,
Which can be tempting.
it can be tempting. They might facilitate a conversation
Okay.
to identify the root causes of the problem.
To really figure out what's going on.
Right. Is it a lack of resources, unclear expectations, something else entirely?
So getting to the heart of the matter.
Exactly.
That-
Not just treating the symptoms.
Okay. I like that.
And once they understand the problem,
Yeah.
a compassionate leader works with the team to find solutions.
So it's a collaborative approach.
It is. Maybe that means reallocating resources, adjusting the timeline, providing additional support.
Okay.
The key is that the team feels heard and empowered, not just ordered around.
That makes sense.
Yeah,
It's about collaboration, not just top-down authority.
exactly.
Yeah.
And the source material actually highlights a really interesting example of this in action.
Oh, really?
There was a senior manager who noticed that one of their team members,
Okay.
a high performer, seemed increasingly withdrawn and disengaged.
No, that's not good.
No, it's not. And
Yeah.
instead of ignoring it or assuming it was just a personal issue, this manager took the time to check in with the employee one-on-one.
I think I know where this is going.
Probably. It turned out this employee was dealing with a serious family illness
Oh, wow.
and was struggling to balance those responsibilities with the demands of work.
That's tough.
It is.
Yeah.
And the manager, being compassionate, worked with the employee to create a flexible work arrangement
Okay, that's good.
that allowed them to take care of their family without sacrificing their career.
That's huge. You know, I bet that employee was so grateful, not just for the flexibility, but for the understanding and support.
Absolutely. And what's more,
Yeah.
this employee continued to be a top performer, even with the reduced hours.
Really?
They felt valued and respected, and they were motivated to give their best, even in a difficult situation.
That's a perfect example of how compassion isn't just the right thing to do. It's also good for business.
It really is a win-win, and it's something that senior managers in particular need to champion.
Because they're the ones setting the example.
They are, because when you're at the top, your actions set the tone for the entire organization.
That makes sense.
If you're leading with compassion, you're creating a culture of compassion. And that can have a profound impact on everything, from employee morale to the bottom line.
So it's about creating a ripple effect.
Exactly. And this goes beyond just individual actions.
Okay.
Think about the policies you put in place,
Yeah.
the way you handle promotions,
Mm-hmm.
the way you give feedback, the way you deal with conflict.
All of that.
All of these things can either reinforce or undermine a culture of compassion.
So for our senior managers listening in, are there any practical tips or tools they can use to really implement these principles in their everyday work?
Absolutely. One thing I always recommend is regular check-ins with your team.
Okay.
And I'm not talking about just the quick, how was your weekend type of chat.
Yeah, more than just small talk.
Right. I'm talking about dedicated time
Mm-hmm.
for open and honest conversations.
I like it.
Make it clear that you genuinely care about their well-being.
So both professional and personal.
So you're seeing them as whole people.
Exactly.
Mm.
Not just cogs in a machine.
Makes sense.
And another thing you can do is actively encourage feedback.
Oh, that's a good one.
Make it safe for people to voice their concerns, share their ideas, offer constructive criticism.
Right.
And when you receive feedback, listen attentively and take it seriously. Don't just brush it off or get defensive.
Okay.
Show that you value their input.
I imagine that can be challenging for some senior managers who are used to being the ones giving directions,
It can be,
not receiving them.
but it's essential for building trust and fostering a culture of continuous improvement.
Okay.
Remember, compassionate leadership isn't about being perfect.
Good point.
It's about being willing to learn and grow.
It's about being human.
It is.
Yeah.
And speaking of being human, don't be afraid to show your own vulnerability.
Interesting.
Acknowledge your own struggles and seek support when you need it. It doesn't diminish your authority.
Oh, I was going to ask about that.
It actually makes you more relatable and approachable because it shows you're not expecting them to be superhuman.
Right. And it normalizes asking for help, which can be so important in preventing burnout
Yes.
and promoting mental well-being.
It's about walking the walk, not just talking the talk.
Exactly. And remember, compassionate leadership is a journey, not a destination.
Oh, that's a good one.
There will be times when you fall short.
We all make mistakes.
We do. But the key is to keep learning, keep growing, and keep striving to create a workplace where everyone feels valued, supported, and empowered to do their best work.
This has been incredibly insightful.
Oh, good. I'm glad.
But before we wrap up,
Yeah.
I'd love to hear your thoughts on how this all ties back to the bigger picture.
Okay.
How does compassionate leadership actually impact the bottom line?
That's a great question. And the research is pretty clear on this. Companies with compassionate leaders
Yeah.
tend to outperform those that don't.
Really? In what ways?
Well, for starters, they tend to have higher employee engagement and retention rates.
Well, that makes sense.
This means they spend less time and money recruiting and training new staff.
Because people want to stay there.
Exactly. They also tend to have higher productivity levels
Okay.
because employees who feel valued and supported are more motivated to go the extra mile.
We hear so much about the war for talent.
All the time.
Maybe compassionate leadership is the secret weapon.
I think it could be. And it's not just about attracting and retaining talent.
Okay, what else?
It's about unlocking their full potential.
I like that.
When people feel safe and supported, they're more likely to be creative, innovative, and willing to take risks.
Oh, that's so important.
It is. They're also more likely to collaborate effectively and build strong relationships with their colleagues.
So it's not just about being nice. It's about creating an environment where people can really thrive.
Exactly. And when people thrive, organizations thrive.
I see a theme here.
What's that?
Compassionate leadership isn't just some fluffy feel-good concept. It's a strategic advantage.
I couldn't agree more. It's about creating a sustainable and thriving workplace for everyone.
It really does sound like compassionate leadership is a powerful tool. Not just for the individual, but for the whole organization.
It really is. And it's fascinating. It's not even a new idea.
Already.
These principles have been around forever,
Yeah.
centuries. But, in today's world,
Yeah, things are moving so fast.
it's so fast-paced, so high pressure.
Right.
It's more relevant now than ever.
Because people are craving stability and connection
They are.
with all the changes and uncertainty in the world.
Absolutely. And for senior managers, they're the ones tasked with navigating all this
Right.
compassionate leadership. It's not just a nice thing to have anymore.
Yeah, it sounds like it's essential.
It's a must-have.
It's about leading with your head and your heart.
Exactly. It's about recognizing that people are the most valuable asset any organization has,
That's true.
and that investing in their well-being, it's not just ethical, it's strategically sound.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into compassionate leadership, what's the one key takeaway you want to leave our listeners with?
I would say don't underestimate the power of small actions.
Hmm.
A simple act of kindness, a genuine expression of empathy, a willingness to just listen without judgment.
Yeah.
These things, they can have a ripple effect
They really can.
that goes way beyond just the individual.
It's about creating a culture of care.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it starts with you. As a senior manager, you have the opportunity to set the tone for your whole team, even the whole organization.
Yeah, you're at the top.
Embrace these principles of compassionate leadership and just watch how it transforms your workplace and your own leadership journey.
That's a great note to end on. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive into compassionate leadership. We hope you found it valuable and inspiring. Until next time, keep learning, keep growing, and keep leading with compassion.